Now, according to an oversight investigation on March 1st, 2017, less than 2 months after then Vice President Biden left office, well, not one, not two, not three, but 4 different members of the Biden family, they started receiving payments from an entity named Robinson Walker LLC. Now, Joe Biden's brother, James, received a whopping $360,000 in incremental payments. Zero Experience Hunter, you know, the author and artist that he is, Portraits of a Crack Addict, he got $500,000. Bo Biden's widow, Haley, who was also Hunter's lover at the time. No judgments, whatever. This is a messed up family. Anyway, she got $35,000, and an unknown Biden received $70,000. Now, we don't know what these various members of the Biden family did to actually earn the money, but what we do know is where it came from. It came from the People's Republic of China. Now, we're going to know a lot more when we get the suspicious activity reports. They've been very slow to hand them over to the committee. This is the House Government Reform Oversight Committee. But according to the ongoing investigation, prior to making the bulk of these payments, Robinson Walker LLC, which is operated by a Biden business associate, they received a $3 million wire transfer from a major Chinese energy company. But that's not all. In 2015, when Joe Biden was still vice president, Robinson Walker LLC, they received a wire totaling nearly $180,000 from an unknown company with a foreign bank account. Now, that was money that was divided between Walker and members of the Biden family. So, again, we ask, what did the Bidens do for all of this money? What did Joe do for any of this money? What favors might be owed to the likes of China and Russia and Ukraine and all these foreign countries that they apparently made a lot of money with? Now, if you think that Joe wouldn't sell out the country to benefit his low-class, money-hungry family, let's follow the money, because that's where the answer will eventually be found. Because it happened over and over again. Look at the case of Ukraine. Zero Experience Hunter goes on GMA. Do you have any experience in Ukraine? No. Oil? No. Energy? No. Gas? No. Coal? No. Well, are you being paid millions? Hunter Biden literally said, I don't know. And to ABC's credit, they said, maybe because your father's the vice president in charge of Ukraine? Probably. Yeah, so it makes sense. How do you get all that money without any experience? Anyway, in a statement, Hunter Biden's spokesperson, they finally got back to us. We're glad to see that. They say they did not deny the payments. They called the investigation a wild and baseless right-wing conspiracy. Where have we heard that before? Hunter Biden, a private citizen with every right to pursue his own business endeavors, joined several business partners in seeking a joint venture with a privately owned legitimate energy company in China. It was all above board, according to Hunter.
All right, we are back with the Fox News alert in Texas. The Fox News decision desk can project former President Trump will win the Republican primary in the state of Texas. That President Biden will win the Democratic primary, and Texas has the second highest number of delegates at stake for both parties tonight, so a lot of delegate haul for Biden and for Trump.
Let's go up to
Texas
the northeast, up to Massachusetts. The former president will win the state of Massachusetts, and we are watching closely this story out of Vermont. Still too close to call. The Fox News decision desk believes we have a very close race there. As you can see, it has flipped to the former president. Here is the state of the race on the Republican side so far tonight. The delegate count, 297 to 43. There you can see all of the states that the former president has won so far, and the District of Columbia in Nikki Haley's category. Let's go back to Aisha Hasni. She's at Mar-a-Lago down in Palm Beach, and it sounds like the crowd is getting ready to hear the former president at some time.
Yes, they are. Good evening to you, Brett. And I was just about to turn around and look because the crowd was cheering very loudly because you just announced another state taken by the former president. And so every single time we see that, the crowd goes wild. And it's the room has filled up quite nicely. Not the 1,000 people that we kept hearing throughout the day, but definitely several hundred are here tonight. I've seen Congressman Byron Donalds, Florida. I've seen Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene here. Pam Bondi is here. Some from the state legislature are here, Moms for Liberty. A lot of different types of Trump supporters are here, really supporting the president. The crowd is jubilant. There they go again, very excited. Now they're cheering for us, I guess. I was able to ask if there is alcohol here, and there is. There is a cash bar, though. There is a cash bar, and I was able to ask the campaign if they're going to maybe pop some champagne later tonight. They said they'd get back to me. Toss it back to you guys.
That's good. Well, at least they're watching the right channel.
Well, yeah, and they obviously have a lot to celebrate even so far tonight as we wait for some more states to come in. Let's bring in Sean Hannity. Sean, good to have you with us. You know, it is remarkable, Sean, on this Super Tuesday, when you look back over the last several years and all of the times that many, many people looked at this situation and did not see the incredible resilience of Donald Trump, of this political figure, and his extraordinary commitment to doing this over again, despite the fact that every arrow in the quiver had been thrown and fired at him over and over and over, Sean.
You know, the term I use, and I know I repeat myself, but I think it bears repeating, is we're really watching history. Let me start there. But Donald Trump defies all conventional political gravity. None of the rules that we thought would apply to any presidential candidate apply to him. And we see that he gets indicted, his poll numbers go up. He gets arraigned, his poll numbers go up. He gets a mugshot, his poll numbers go up. The more they attack him, the more he seems to galvanize support around the country. What's fascinating, and I know you've gone over a lot of polls tonight, one that really stood out to me was 10% of Biden voters are now voting for Donald Trump. Look, you have the New York Times Siena poll, you have the Fox News poll, you have the Wall Street Journal poll, CBS, he beat the 50% threshold. And then you look at Gallup, he's at 38%, an approval rating that is near record low for an incumbent president. Very difficult to overcome. You look at the ABC poll, you've got 86% of Americans thinking that he's not strong enough cognitively to be president. He's too old. That shows up in pretty much every poll. Then you've got to look historically. What do we always look at in election years? What drives elections? What drives people to the polls? Usually it is peace and prosperity. Okay, well, how are things looking around the world? We've got war in Europe. We've got war in the Middle East. We have a president seemingly in conflict with our number one ally in the Middle East, that, of course, being Israel. On the other hand, he's done everything he can do to turn a blind eye to the Iranians selling oil, some $90 to $100 billion worth, and, of course, offering $6 billion in a trade for hostages, allowing a payment from Iraq for $10 billion. That's insanity to me. So then you go to the economic front. We now are living in an America where 60% of our fellow Americans, and I've been there early in my adult life, it's not a fun place to be, are living paycheck to paycheck. And many people are putting bare necessities on high-interest credit cards. It is a very tough time. For all the talk for the many months about Bidenomics, and we suspect, and we keep hearing leaks, that the president will talk a lot about corporate greed and shrinkflation in his State of the Union address. They have tried that message, and he is way upside down on the economy. People do not feel that they were better off than they were 4 years ago. There's so much anecdotal evidence that really points to an opportunity for President Trump to really make history in 244 days. That will come very fast. That will happen very fast. It's going to be fascinating. Let me throw a few polls at you, if you don't mind. I'll put my glasses on. Look, if you look at climate change, you have most Americans, by an overwhelming majority, think Joe's policies have mostly failed. Americans don't want EVs thrown at them. They would like their gas-powered vehicles. They don't want their stoves taken away, their refrigerators taken away, and they don't want their air conditioners taken away. Okay, so he's not even doing well on that. If you look demographically, what do we see? We see African Americans, Hispanic Americans, young people, suburban women in larger and larger numbers. All of these demographics comprise a very large part of the Democratic coalition or the Democratic base. Donald Trump, as of right now today, 244 days out, is doing very well with those constituencies. Look at Donald Trump with African Americans. Look at the poll. All demographics, he's at 28% with African Americans. That's massive. If you look further, working class Americans, 58% of them believe Joe Biden's policies have failed. Has he improved our image on the world stage? 61% of Americans give him a fail grade. On the economy, 61% give Joe Biden a big F. Do you feel more safe and secure? 63% think Joe Biden's, policies have failed. Unifying the country, 69% think he's failed. And on the number one issue that we have all covered from Iowa onward seems to be immigration, and you have a whopping 71% of Americans that did not buy the 3 years of lying that the border is secure and the border's closed. Now, as of tonight, this is now a new race. This is now President Trump. He will win the Republican nomination. He will have an opportunity to become the 47th president of the United States. And I believe these are the policies, these are the issues that will define what happens 244 days from now.
Sean, a couple of things. Karl Rove was talking about how the party needs to come together and unify, and he brought out his whiteboard and pointed to all these states and all the people voting for Nikki Haley, some of whom said they had a problem with Donald Trump and weren't going to vote for them. I pushed back and said in a general election, which is going to happen very soon, whether he clinches March 12th or March 19th, he's going to be the Republican nominee. It then is a binary choice. And so to your point, how people felt in the Trump administration about the economy, about the border, about world affairs. Do you think that those people voting for Nikki Haley, Republicans, will come home in a general election when it is a binary choice?
I think most of them will, not all of them. But let's go back to one number that really popped to me, and that was 10% of 2020 Joe Biden voters. They are saying publicly to pollsters they're going to vote for Donald Trump in 2024. That's how dissatisfied they are. Now, that presents a challenge to the president. I would say be magnanimous in victory tonight. Look, running for president is really hard. Every single person over all the years that I've done this, and by the way, I love nights like tonight. Don't you guys love these nights?
We do.
I will be up at 3 o'clock in the morning and still watching our coverage. And if it's a replay, I'll be watching that too. It's just a fascinating process to me. And so I think, on the other side of that coin, you can look, I would say, okay, some of the demographics that are part of the Democratic coalition, I think some of them will go home. But if Donald Trump could even hold 20% of that number that he's showing now in an increase, that would be enough to be a significant win come November 5th. On the other side, I do think that the president has an opportunity to unite the party. And I think the message has to be there are more things that unite us than divide us. We agree on border. We agree on law and order. We agree on energy independence. We agree on peace through strength. We agree that Joe Biden's policies have failed. We believe that the American people deserve better. And maybe the president at some point will reach out to all of his primary opponents and invite them to join him and help him even to the extent that they're willing to, for the sake of the American people, unite around an agenda that will help our economy, help America on the world stage, bring us more prosperity, bring peace around the world, and also put America safe. And please secure our borders. Please get our budget under control. We cannot spend like this, and we cannot have tens of thousands of people from China, Russia, Iran, Syria, Egypt, and Afghanistan coming into this country without being vetted. That is the biggest national security threat I think we've ever faced.
Sean, just real quickly, if, as it clearly looks right now, Donald Trump becomes the nominee for the GOP, how much does that galvanize, just watching some of the other coverage earlier tonight? People very, very deeply unhappy, upset that this is where we are 4 years later. And how much does that energize and galvanize the opposition that has come after this former president so vociferously and so nonstop for all these years, Sean?
I honestly, at this point, I don't think there's anything left to throw at the guy.
Right.
They have thrown everything in the kitchen sink at him, and he's still standing. And he's not only standing; he's standing strong. Look, I have a lot of good things to say about a lot of his primary opponents. I really do. And I respect all of them. Anybody that steps into that arena, it is a blood sport. I think you both know that I'm into mixed martial arts. You step into the octagon, I give you full respect. It is just very hard. And none of them suspect that they're going to lose. However, there comes a point, why did you get into the race? If you got into the race because you believe in the dream that is America, you believe it's our duty and obligation to hand off this country better than we inherited it, then I think that is a galvanizing force that could transcend all politics. And I would urge everybody that ran and President Trump, they don't have to be best friends, but they can agree on the fundamentals that certainly would reverse the downward trend that Joe Biden has taken the country in. And by the way, I don't even think that he knows today is Tuesday. And that's a problem for this country. And I don't say that flippantly. He has not had, if you observe like we do, what I would call a clean event in months, meaning that he's not mumbling, bumbling, stumbling, not knowing whether to exit stage left or stage right. You've got teams of people, letting him go up the baby stairs of Air Force One because he's not strong enough physically to get up the big boy stairs. We've got a real problem. China's watching, Russia's watching, Iran is watching, North Korea's watching. This world is a dangerous place, and I think things will get really out of control if we don't change course in November.
Sean, last thing, ahead of the midterms, we looked at polls and we thought this is going to be potentially a blowout for Republicans as you looked at the issue of immigration, as you looked at crime, as you looked at the economy. But then the Democrats went with a threat to democracy and obviously played on the issue of abortion very heavily in races across the country. I talked to Britt Hume earlier. He said he can't remember polls that were this upside down on a lot of issues for the current president. But should we have that caveat? Because clearly they're going with threat to democracy and going with abortion heavily as we look at these polls today, and then you fast forward to the general election.
Yeah, both of you asking great questions tonight. I got to give you credit. I will say this. We already know what the Democratic playbook is going to be. It's going to be democracy, and it's kind of ironic. The people that are doing that are the very people that would unilaterally allow one politician to take a candidate off the ballot for the reason of insurrection, something Donald Trump has never been tried, even tried with, or even there's never been a case brought against him on it, never mind convicted of it. So you want to talk about a threat to democracy, I would argue that is a threat to democracy. But, to your broader point, Brett, I will tell you, they're going to run on democracy. They're going to run on January 6th. They're going to run on the issue of abortion. I would argue, and I think I'm right, that in 22, Republicans were not prepared for how the Democrats would demagogue the issue of abortion. And I understand people have very strong convictions. However, if you want to look at it strictly from a political point of view, and I believe in the sanctity of life, but I understand that the country is not where I am. Politically, the country is at probably where Dobbs was at 15 weeks. Republicans need to understand that. If they pick somebody like they did in 22, like Doug Mastriano, who made no exceptions for rape, incest, of the mother's life, I think that is a mistake. They've got to have an answer for the millions and millions of dollars that will be spent on ads about abortion. I was glad to see President Trump come out quickly on the issue of IVF and with a very strong statement supporting it. And the next thing is Republicans, then it's going to be the other playbook, which is Republicans are racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic. They want dirty air and water, transphobic, and they want to kill grandma and grandpa. So that will be their playbook. That's all they've got, because they can't run on one thing, Brett and Martha. They can't run on, are you better off than you were 4 years ago?
Well, Sean, as always, we appreciate it. Thanks for
Great job
the coverage
tonight,
Good
guys.
this
to see you,
hour.
Sean. Thank you very
By
much.
the way, I got to say this about Hemmer. Is he not great at that big board?
We're
That
getting
used
ready
to be
to
the
go.
Hannity big
Going
board.
right now.
He is.
Thank you.
He's just waiting around. Let's make a couple calls first.
Exactly. So this is the latest call that we've got from our Fox News decision desk. Former President Trump will win the Colorado primary for the Republicans, and President Biden will win on the Democratic side in Colorado. Once again, no big surprises there, but sometimes what's in some of these numbers gets pretty interesting as we look around the country, and that is why we go to Mr. Bill Hemmer.
What's happening?
Who-
Just hanging out over here.
Over
Sean
there at the
Hannity's
big
your
board.
PR agent.
My name was invoked, yeah. I'm going to give you a quick spin here, and I'm going to just give you some perspective in the end on all this, okay? Let's start up in Vermont because this race has not been called here. We talk about the 50% mark. Earlier, Nikki Haley had a slight lead. Donald Trump was pulled out at an advantage of about 800 raw votes, computes to about 2.5 percentage points. So he's doing better than the last time we checked in the state of Vermont. And that was seen by a lot of people as like the state that Nikki Haley could win tonight. Let me come out here to Colorado because this was just called a moment ago with Donald Trump picking up a victory in Colorado. Let me go to Minnesota just to see what's happening right now. Too early to call, just 1% of the vote being reported. We'll see how this changes. Now I want to come down to Texas. I want to show you what Trump has done now in 8 years, okay? The state's been called in Texas. I want to show you where the party was 8 years ago. And as I go back in time here, everything you see that's blue is a county that Ted Cruz won. Granted, it was his home state, but nonetheless, very impressive 8 years ago for Ted Cruz. And frankly, kind of impressive for what Trump has done now eight years later. And Oklahoma, right? Border state to the north. This is where it was 8 years ago. It was all blue. It was Ted Cruz. And now this is Donald Trump's party. It's his nomination. The question is, when does he get there? Let me try and just get you here to a delegate tracker here. Now, some of this is behind because it's based on the congressional district, and all the votes haven't been tabulated yet. But this is where we are, just shy of 300 delegates for Donald Trump. It needs to get to 1215. It won't happen tonight. It may happen a week from tonight. If not, it for sure should happen 2 weeks from tonight. So that's where we are, guys. Back over to you.
Okay.
Thank you, Bill. All right, a live look now at Trump campaign headquarters at Mar-a-Lago, where there is a big crowd. They are excited. Aisha Hasmi is there covering that for us. We do expect that we will hear from former President Donald Trump, who is a big winner tonight, coming up shortly. We'll take you there live.
So Fox News Alert, Super Tuesday. You're looking live at Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida. We're expecting the former president of the United States, Donald J. Trump, to get out there and accept what are a number of victories. It may be all of them before the night is through. We're looking at a couple of these races to see if they tighten up. As you look at Vermont, it's the tightest of the tight. But right now, 48% in. The former president leading 48.5 to 47% there. He has won a number of races already this evening.
He won Virginia, which was also another area where Nikki Haley felt that she had a chance. She won D.C. the other day, but that one has gone to former President Trump. So also, former President Trump scored a major legal victory in Colorado this week when the Supreme Court 9-0 unanimously rejected the effort to kick him off the state's ballot. Alicia Acuna reporting live from Denver tonight. Hi, Alicia.
Hi, Martha. Hi, Brett. Yeah, you have to imagine that for former President Trump, tonight's victory in Colorado must be extra sweet when you consider that early yesterday morning, there was still a question of whether or not votes for him would even be counted. Because of printing deadlines, the Colorado Secretary of State had to issue ballots that contained his name. However, they came with a warning saying that if the Supreme Court did not decide his way, that those votes would not be counted. Of course, the Colorado Secretary of State, a Democrat, Jenna Griswold, had expressed deep regret and disappointment at the decision by the unanimous decision by the justices of the U.S. Supreme Court to allow former President Trump on the Colorado ballot. She did, however, have to add that all votes would be counted. And what's interesting is that we've also heard from supporters of Nikki Haley, supporters of President Biden, who also said that they also believe that former President Trump should be on the ballot. Did they support him? No. But did they support support his right to be on the ballot? Yes. And one other note I will tell you, there was one voter, this one woman, who said that she believed that the Supreme Court was going to make the right decision. That wasn't her concern. But the fact that we had gotten to this point at this level, for her, it was simply sad. Back to you.
Alicia, thank you very much.
Shannon Bream is standing by with her legal panel in Washington, D.C. Shannon, you have a potpourri of legal issues to talk about if you'd like to choose a couple.
We do, and I think next up is going to be Georgia and Fani Willis. That's where we're going with Jonathan Turley and Andy McCarthy. Okay, so this is another place, Andy, that President Trump's legal team is feeling bullish. We're waiting to see whether the judge there, Scott McAfee, kicks her off, disqualifies her, or Nathan Wade from the case. What do you think as we wait?
I think there's a very good chance that not only will Fani Willis be kicked off the case, but that her office will be taken off the case. And to me, that's the interesting part of it, because if the whole case goes to a different prosecutor who's not as invested in this cockamamie RICO theory that she brought in the case, then it's a very different prosecution.
Yeah, and now, Jonathan, we have somebody else who's come forward. I mean, they had sort of the closing arguments last Friday, but this person is saying, if you would be willing to take more evidence in the case, I know more about what happened here.
No, it's like a series of jump scares in these proceedings. Every day, someone stands up and says, I also have testimony to give. And what's interesting about this one is it's another prosecutor who, first of all, says that I heard this witness say that the relationship began long before Nathan Wade was hired. Now, the judge could easily say, look, we have that in the bag. We already know that that Bradley's testimony contradicted what he told counsel. And it's pretty clear in his text that he didn't have any problem with his memory when he was talking to counsel.
And just to remind folks, when he was asked in the back and forth text, when did you know for sure that this started earlier? He said the word absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah. But what I think is more troubling for the court is that there is a second recounting which says that this prosecutor had heard Willis say that you should not basically should not give information about our relationship. Now, if she actually heard Willis herself say that, either over a speakerphone or in person, that could be viewed as influencing a witness. Keep in mind that Wade and Willis are already accused of filing false statements with the court. They are prosecuting people in this case for that alleged crime. Now, if they're accused of influencing a witness, at least in Willis's case, that's also one of the counts in this case. So at some point, it becomes untenable that you're being accused of the same conduct you're prosecuting people for. So the question is even before you get to what the judge does, is what are they doing in this case? I mean, they are clearly putting their personal interest ahead of their case in their office.
Well, quickly, Andy, if they are booted from the case, do you think it gets tried before the election?
I don't think it gets tried before the election anyway, as it's conceived, because she doesn't have, the only thing these 19 people have ever done together is get indicted. She doesn't have a conspiracy, and she certainly doesn't have a RICO.
Well, we await that decision from the judge, and for now, we'll take it back to Brett and Martha.
Shannon, thank you.
The parry between the legal cases and the election that we talked so much about is now playing out in real time tonight on Super Tuesday. And we do have some more for you from our decision desk as we monitor the White House and Mar-a-Lago, where they are watching this very closely. We do expect that we'll hear from former President Trump at the podium you see on the right-hand side of your screen.
A long time ago, there was a happy boy who lived in a village, but his happiness could not last for long. The boy and his fellow villagers faced a severe drought. They desperately waited for rains, but with no luck. All the crops, land, and even trees dried up. The cattle started dying. As there was no rain, the stream was drying up slowly. One night, during a meet with the villagers, the boy said, "Friends, we all have heard tales from our grandparents about an underground river flowing through our village. Why don't we dig and see?" The villagers agreed and started digging. They dug for some days but gave up soon. However, the boy kept on digging. When people told him to give up, he said, "God is helping and guiding my way." One day, when he had dug deep enough, the boy saw water. His attitude of not giving up saved the whole village. "Never give up so easily," the boy advised all the villagers. Now they are never short of water, and whenever any problem arises, all the villagers came up together and find a solution. The takeaway of the story is, as individuals, we are encouraged to persist in the pursuit of solutions even when faced with challenges, and to emphasize the power of collective effort when people come together to overcome difficulties. Now, if you think this content is good, tag that one friend who needs to see this, and please like, share, and follow.